Hi, welcome back to ACB Wrestling Talk, your main source for wrestling news and wrestling discussions. I am, of course, your host, Alexis Carrillo, and let's get into some wrestling talk. Quite a few topics to talk about today, about what transpired last night on Monday Night Raw. Of course, a pre-taped episode of Monday Night Raw from the UK aired on the USA Network. So some of you fans already knew what was going to happen. You already knew the gist of it, but like I always say, there is nothing like actually watching something unfold rather than reading it. Which is why, the Harry Potter movies are so successful, as are the books, but, there's a correlation to each of them. But I digress. So, Becky Lynch came out to start the show, and she started talking about how she wants to be Becky Two Belts once again, and in this case, she was going to challenge for the Women's Tag Team Championships against the Kabuki Warriors with her former bestie, former hated rival, unknown at the moment, because I really don't know if they're best friends, if they're worst rivals, if they're just putting up with each other. Of course, I'm talking about the 10-time women's champion Charlotte Flair, and they were having a regular run-of-the-mill match on Raw, nothing to really to strike up a conversation about until Shayna Baszler appeared with her NXT Women's Championship on her shoulder, and Becky Lynch, obviously, she has the upcoming triple threat match against Becky Lynch and against Shayna Baszler for Team Red, Team Raw at Survivor Series. So that obviously causes a distraction. She, her attention, Becky's attention is now divided. And then all of a sudden, Bayley comes out. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, Bayley comes out. The SmackDown Women's Champion comes out and attacks Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler lays Bayley out. Becky Lynch is distracted from all of this, and a roll-up from, I believe it was Kairi Sane who rolled Becky Lynch up. This results in the Kabuki Warriors retaining her tag team titles. Becky Lynch being this the man gimmick that she's portraying on WWE television. She's all pissed. She tries to go after Shayna Baszler. Baszler's long gone. She's back into the audience, and then we get Bayley attacking Becky Lynch from behind, laying her out, and pretty much declaring that she's not someone to overlook. They should not be overlooking. This isn't just Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. This is Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler versus Bayley in a triple threat match. And one thing that that one little final moment of this altercation reminded me of is that this isn't necessarily the main roster versus NXT. That is not the war going on here. It reminded me of the fact that it's gonna be Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT at Survivor Series. So it wouldn't have to be necessarily Becky Lynch and Bayley tagging against Shayna Baszler just to get revenge for the main roster. That's something that was reminded to me back last night on Monday Night Raw, and now, we're about, 10 days away, give or take a few days, from Survivor Series. We're getting closer and closer to the actual pay-per-view. We're getting closer and closer to the go-home show. They really got to start pumping up the machine in terms of hype for this all-out war. And speaking of the all-out war between NXT and the main roster, in this case Raw, we had Seth Rollins come out, and he pretty much gave a rah-rah speech about being the leader of Team Raw and how he wanted, he played with the thought of actually heading back to NXT, heading back to his roots, just like Finn Balor just did before him, and he was unsuccessful in dethroning Adam Cole from the NXT Championship. So now he's going to focus on being the leader of Team Raw, which, first of all, leads me to believe that he is not quite the best leader. If just 1 week ago he was thinking about, going back to NXT. But anyway, that's how WWE writes the stories. And so Seth Rollins, being the quote-unquote team leader that he is, calls out the best that the UK has to offer, and of course, Imperium comes out. The same group that attacked Heavy Machinery last Friday night on SmackDown comes out, and in this case, it's the WWE United Kingdom champion Walter who answers Seth Rollins' open challenge, and they have a match that I didn't think we would ever be watching on Raw, because Walter is a part of NXT UK. Seth Rollins is never going to step foot in NXT UK as far as I'm concerned, as far as any possibilities in the future in my head right now. So we had that match, and of course when Seth Rollins had the upper hand on Walter, the rest of Imperium got involved and caused a DQ win for Seth Rollins. We had Kevin Owens and the Street Profits come out, leading to the routine run-of-the-mill 8-man tag team bout between Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and the Street Profits over Imperium. And of course, Team Raw wins, and more often than not, this is going to lead to next week having the commentary team point out how Seth Rollins led a 4-man tag team last week with a win over NXT UK's Imperium, so that might make him the obvious and best choice to be the leader of Team Raw. Again, run-of-the-mill, routine. Nothing more to talk about, it's just routine. What wasn't, well, it kind of was, what wasn't or kind of was routine was another chapter of the Lana, Rusev, and Lashley love triangle playing out on Raw over the past, what's it been, 2 months now? Lana comes out, she points out the fact that she's been dating Bobby Lashley for, 7 weeks? Maybe more. Well, she didn't point out that she's been dating Bobby Lashley for 7 weeks. She just pointed out the fact that she had sex for the first time with Bobby Lashley 7 weeks ago. Are we to assume that, she's been dating him for 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 weeks? Hey, you make your choice. I don't know. And the last time, and she also points out that the last time she had sex, I think she did point out the last time she had sex with Rusev was 9 weeks ago, so there's a 2-week waiting period right there. And then Lana, out of nowhere, just burst out the fact that she's 9 weeks pregnant with Rusev's child. So obviously it's not Lashley's child. Rusev comes out. Rusev appears to be playing innocent and happy about the fact that Lana is pregnant. And then, Lana starts getting angry about something that I already forgot. This is how memorable this whole rivalry has been. And then Lana gets on top of Rusev, starts raking his eyes, starts doing all that kind of stuff. Lashley comes out. Lashley beats the living crap out of Rusev once again. Run-of-the-mill routine. And then, as Rusev is laying on the mat, and Lana and Lashley are going up the ramp, about to exit through the gorilla position, Lana says that, she can't believe that Rusev bought the fact that she was pregnant. So once again, Lana manipulating the situation in this entire storyline. And because we have a pay-per-view like Survivor Series coming up, the real question we have right now, the real question to ask right now is, when the hell is Rusev going to get revenge on Bobby Lashley? When the hell are they going to have a match, one-on-one pay-per-view match amongst them to, resolve this entire situation and give the fans, give the audience who's been watching this feud unfold over the past few weeks some kind of a reward, some kind of bookend to the feud, or beginning to bookend the feud. When is that going to happen? Again, we don't know. And then we've got two more things from Monday Night Raw that I want to point out. Randy Orton's, intriguing rivalry that's beginning to unfold with Ricochet. Randy Orton tagged with a couple of babyfaces last night against the OC in AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, and the Gallows. And, which is kind of weird because he's supposed to be a heel. He's tagging up with babyfaces like Ricochet and Humberto Carrillo. And then, again, run-of-the-mill, six-man tag team match. Nothing more to talk about. Nothing to highlight other than the fact that after the match, or right before the match ended, it looked like Randy Orton was going to turn on Ricochet. He flipped him over, and then he delivered an RKO to, I believe, Carl Anderson. I love that part of the match. 1, 2, 3, they get the win, and then Randy Orton appears to want to lay out Ricochet. He teases that he's about to, and then he stops and tells Ricochet that, he does what he wants, when he wants, to whoever he wants, and then just leaves. Now that's something I'm interested in. I'm very interested in Orton versus Ricochet in the future. I'm very interested about that. I would much rather prefer that than what we've been getting from Randy Orton in the recent weeks, which has been, pretty much nothing other than making fun of Rusev. So, let's see how that unfolds next week on Raw, on the go-home show to the Survivor Series pay-per-view, where we're not going to have Orton versus Ricochet. And finally, again, they have these backstage promos involving Aleister Black telling superstars and wrestlers to please knock on his door. Please knock on his door, because he wants a challenge. He wants someone to fade to black. And trust me, if there's anyone who wants to see Black in the middle of that ring against anyone, it's me. But I also want to see him in the middle of the ring with a mic in his hand, calling out superstars and wrestlers. Because to the fans in the arena and to the audience at home, there is a difference. Okay, when you call someone out in a backstage segment, that usually means, okay, you're calling him out for next week or for the week after that. Okay. If you're calling someone out in the middle of the ring, that's different. You're calling him out for tonight. You're calling him out for a match right now. Plus, there's the added incentive that real stars, or at least the biggest stars on the roster, get mic time in the middle of that ring. That's been made very clear by WWE over the past 3 decades. So, they've really got to fix that issue. If they're really trying to put Aleister Black over, have him deliver these kinds of promos, this kind of mystique in those promos in the middle of that ring. If you really want to put him over, that's just one guy giving his honest opinion. You don't have to follow it, obviously. I'm just one guy, one nobody. But still, that's my point of view. So anyway, that's all I really have to talk about this run-of-the-mill routine Raw in the UK, with it not being live. We'll just have to wait and see what happens next week on Raw. Hopefully they can, pull up this, slump that they're in, this entertainment slump that they're in. Because, again, WWE has been doing run-of-the-mill routine for quite a while now. One thing that I did not want to include as a part of Raw, because even though he did have a match on Monday Night Raw, again, it was pre-taped on Friday night, I believe, in the UK. And over the weekend, this wrestler posted a picture on Twitter, an image on Twitter, in which he notified his fan base that he had asked for his release from WWE. This wrestler, this performer being, of course, Sin Cara. And I'm not going to go over the fact that, I'm not going to go over this entire letter, well put together letter, in which he pretty much explains why he wants to be released from WWE. He explains his religious beliefs and his reasons as to why he wants to be released. Basically, it's just the fact that he's not content with his position in the card. He's not content with the way WWE has been treating him in terms of, putting him in matches and putting him in high-profile feuds and making him seem like a big deal. And that's not totally untrue, because Sin Cara has been on a losing streak to Andrade, and this past Monday night to Drew McIntyre. The real question we have to ask ourselves right here is not whether Sin Cara should stay with WWE or not. The real question is, should WWE grant him his release? Should WWE grant Sin Cara his release? Now, I believe the Sin Cara gimmick is or belongs to WWE, because I believe Mystico was the one who initially came to WWE as Sin Cara. He apparently was a flop. He botched a few moves in the ring, and then WWE decided to replace him with, I believe, the guy's name, or the wrestler's previous in-ring name, was Unico. So yes, I believe Sin Cara gimmick still belongs to WWE. But the real question is, will WWE release this wrestler? And again, because Sin Cara, the Sin Cara gimmick and the Sin Cara name and trademark, I believe, again, I might be mistaken about this, belongs to WWE, it might not be such a big deal if the leader in sports entertainment were to release him, because if he were to show up in AEW, which is WWE's biggest feud right now, he wouldn't be able to use the Sin Cara gimmick. Without a mask or with a mask, he'd be pretty much unrecognizable from the star that he was in WWE, so at least Sin Cara has got that going for him. Again, if you ask me, I'm the kind of person who believes that if someone doesn't want to be there anymore, you'd let him go. You don't keep him under contract. Yes, he's getting paid, but he's being miserable. He wants to do something with his life, with his career. Just let him go. Unfortunately, competition, war, that's a whole different story. We just have to wait and see how this unfolds, because in the past, both Mike Bennett and Luke Harper have asked for their release from WWE, or at least reports have come out that these superstars have asked for their release, and WWE has not granted them their release. In some cases, adding time to their already existing contract in the case of Luke Harper. So again, it's a wait-and-see situation on Sin Cara. Hopefully, he gets the intended outcome out of it. Tonight is Tuesday night, which means yet another episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV, and we have a few matches that are bound to bring some excitement to our television sets. Daga versus Jake Crist. Now, I'm not as familiar with Daga. I do know that he is some sort of an item, along with Tessa Blanchard, which is a big star on Impact Wrestling right now. So, Daga versus Jake Crist. Gotta go with Daga in this very Luchador X Division-esque style match that I'm expecting they're going to have tonight on Impact Wrestling. We're also going to see Havoc in action. Jessica Havoc in action. Of course, Jessica Havoc being infamous for quote-unquote hanging or attempting to hang Su Yung. And apparently she might have been successful, because we all witnessed Su Yung die on Impact TV, only to be resurrected or brought back to life or whatever, and now she's back as Susie. This normal human being who appears to be just a tad bit more creepy than Su Yung ever was. Because, Su Yung was this obvious, creepy, terrifying, undead bride. But now Susie is this resurrected, undead bride who appears to be all happy and strawberries and angels and this character just trying to be friends with everyone. But the fact that she was pretty much murdered by Havoc, and now she's okay and she's a good girl, that just brings the creep up to 100. That's just me. So possibly, Havoc being in action tonight might lead to Susie coming out and, causing a distraction or causing her to lose her focus in the match. We also have what's bound to be the match of the night. One match I'm pretty much excited for, which is the North versus Marufuji and Eddie Edwards. It's going to be hard-hitting. The North have proven to be quite a respectable tag team. The #1 tag team in Impact Wrestling right now. And one thing that I'm getting from this entire thing is that, Eddie Edwards, he won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match at Bound for Glory. He has a right to challenge for any championship he desires in Impact Wrestling. Last week, he faced Ace Austin in I believe, a street fight. He won. So many people thought he might be going after the X Division Championship. So tonight, he's tagging with Marufuji against the tag team champions in the North. So this might be another, what do you call it? I'm sorry, I'm missing out on the word, but this might be another misdirection as to, well, maybe Eddie Edwards is going after the tag team titles. We don't know, but it's going to be damn exciting to see him tag with Marufuji against the North. We also have ourselves a 6-man #1 contenders match to the X Division Championship. Petey Williams, Aiden Prince, Trey, Rohit Raju, Willie Mack, and Brent Banks. Now, Petey Williams, he's a veteran in the X Division. He's a veteran in Impact Wrestling. I just don't see him going for the X Division title. Maybe if he were to win this match, there is still a possibility. He might just be a father opponent. He might just be, a transitional opponent so Ace Austin can get some more days and some more weeks with the X Division Championship. We also got Aiden Prince. Don't know much about him. Trey, who's a part of the Rascals. He's pretty much just a playful character who's not meant to be taken as seriously as he should because he's pretty damn good in that ring. Rohit Raju, pretty much in the same way as Trey, only in the heel way with the Desi Hit Squad. Willie Mack, which is my big bet to win this entire thing and head off against Ace Austin. And Brent Banks, who I haven't really seen much of, so I can't really comment. So, all in all, six-man match for #1 contenders match. Gotta go with Willie Mack with the win. We've got the self-proclaimed locker room leader in Madison Rayne in action. Don't know where this is going. I know she's playing the heel. She's playing this locker room leader and trying to be the main personality in the Knockouts division. But I honestly, with Madison Rayne, I miss the Queen Bee gimmick we got in 2010 and 2011. We can't turn back time. And now I believe Madison Rayne is only here to put over the young talent and help them and groom them to be a part of the future of the Knockouts division. So, for Madison Rayne, good on that. And finally, what is set to be the main event of tonight's show, Tessa Blanchard tagging with Rich Swann against the Impact World Champion Sami Callihan and Madman Fulton of OVE in an intergender tag team match, or person tag team match. again, next week we have the five-person, gotta get used to it, 5-person elimination match to decide a brand new #1 contender to Sami Callihan's Impact World Championship. So, just like that, Brian Cage is out of the picture, unfortunately. One thing I do have to mention about this tag team main event set for tonight is, please treat your world champion with some damn respect. Okay, I get it. He's a heel. He's the bad guy. And people want to see him get his comeuppance. I get that. But he is also the Impact World Champion. He also beat the living crap out of someone who was poised to be the face of the company. Someone who was pretty much unstoppable for the entirety of this year in the Machine, Brian Cage. Sami Callihan beat the living crap out of Brian Cage to become Impact World Champion. And now you have Rich Swann, I believe it was Rich Swann, pin him last week, and now for all intents and purposes, you could predict that, either Tessa or Swann are going to pin Callihan instead of Man Fulton. So please just give your world champion some respect. Give the draw. Give Callihan some respect because he's earned it since last year. His character has damn well earned it. And also in the same trope, give OVE some goddamn respect. Okay, they're supposed to be this big heel unstoppable faction. They lose every single match they're in. Please stop this. Okay, I get it. You're trying to put your baby faces over. I get it. But don't do it at the behest of your heels. Don't make them look as weakling as they possibly can. Just stop it. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's all I ask. Please give your world champion and your main heel stable some respect. Okay, that's it for Impact Wrestling on Access TV. You can catch it tonight. Make sure to catch it tonight because like I said, it's bound to be one heck of a night full of action. Again, but still, I'm more of a guy of story and characters. Respect your story, respect your characters, and that'll bring viewers in. Moving on to our next topic, we've got the fact that Major League Wrestling founder Court Bauer recently spoke out on the WINCLY podcast of WrestlingInc.com about MJF competing in AEW and Major League Wrestling. Now, this is something we've known for quite a while now. Ever since All Elite Wrestling was founded, and ever since Maxwell Jacob Friedman signed with AEW, someone who, is pretty much at the center of spotlight ever since last Saturday night's Full Gear pay-per-view. Court Bauer recently just spoke about the fact that MJF and Jimmy Havoc, who also has a role in Major League Wrestling, he recently just stated that I don't. This is about fans being confused about MJF and Jimmy Havoc portraying two very different characters on MLW and AEW. I don't. I think the fans are sophisticated enough to know that the presentations are different, and they're not going to be like, oh, they're schizophrenic characters. I think in presentation they are vaguely consistent, and AEW is doing a good job, as are we, so there hasn't been any of that weirdness. So, on that note, I agree with Court Bauer. Okay? I agree with the fact that, first of all, the same fans that tune into AEW might tune into MLW on YouTube and on beIN Sports. That might be the case. But there's a big difference between audiences. Whereas AEW Dynamite gets almost 1 million viewers, I have to believe that MLW Fusion gets anywhere from 50,000 to 200,000 viewers on their show for a premiere on that kind of case. And sorry about that. Sorry about that noise. I forgot to turn on my data on the phone, which is where I am recording each and every Wrestling Talk episode. So, yeah, I agree with him. There shouldn't be any confusion over the characters. They have different storylines. Sometimes they're going to intertwine if the companies are going to be working together. But other than that, I think fans are smart enough to know and to realize, hey, these are two very different companies, two very different products, two very different shows. And moving on to our very last topic is the fact that tonight, again, it's Tuesday night. It's, people know Tuesdays for Taco Tuesday, but it's also yet another edition of NWA Powerrr on YouTube. And we've got the aftermath of Colt Cabana defeating the Cowboy James Storm to become the brand new and once again NWA National Champion. Now, for all we know, this might just be a case of, liberating James Storm of the quote-unquote burden of being national champion, only to have him challenge for the NWA 10 pounds of gold, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in the very near future. That might be the case, but still, there's got to be some kind of resolution to this feud. There's got to be some kind of bookend to the Colt Cabana and James Storm feud. And by the way, can I just point out the fact that Nick Aldis has now been world champion for over 387 days in his current reign and 653 days overall. That's pretty impressive for someone who, again, in the past, I called, and I admit this, I called someone who NWA wasn't willing or shouldn't be willing to put all their chips in. I called Nick Aldis someone or a superstar that, he's a great working superstar. He's willing to do the work, and he's obviously a company guy, but I just don't see him as the face of the company. Obviously, Billy Corgan, Dave Lagana, NWA themselves, they've proven me wrong, and Nick Aldis has been world champion and the face of NWA for almost 2 years now. Keep this going, they have to bring more guys in, and I believe that bringing James Storm, and then Eli Drake, possibly an Aaron Stevens, possibly a Ricky Starks into the equation for the 10 pounds of gold might just bring more excitement and more relevance to Nick Aldis' current position as a national treasure and as the face of the NWA. But that's just me, that's just one guy's opinion. What do you think? What do you think about every single opinion, every single topic we just talked about right here on Wrestling Talk? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? If you do, whichever way, whatever, just speak your mind on the comment section below. Again, there's a freedom of speech. I don't mind. If you want to hate on me, go ahead, leave it on the comment section below. If you agree with me, leave it on the comment section below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you dislike this video, hit the dislike button. I've been Alexis Carrillo. See you tomorrow. That's it for me. Till next time.